My name is Ali Walker. I serve as the Program Officer of Circular Economy Programming at the Council of the Great Lakes region, which I will refer to as CGLR through the presentation. At the Council, we focus on regional initiatives that are aimed at making the Great Lakes more sustainable for future generations. So today in particular, we will be talking about the Boat Wrap Recycling Project, which is a program that our Circular Great Lakes initiative focuses on um, uh, implementing sustainable solutions, particularly for plastics in the Great Lakes region. I'm also thrilled to be joined by some of our amazing partners in this project who will be speaking alongside me today. We have Scott Hammer, who is the Director of Corporate Sustainability at Charter Next Generation, also known as CNG, along with Ben Alden, who is the Operations Manager at Chicago Harbors. Both have been with us from the onset of this project and are wonderful partners. Through their collaboration and the collaboration of the greater network of dedicated partners, many of whom are with us today, we began developing the Boat Wrap program in 2022 to ensure that boat wrap recycling was more accessible on a regional scale. So our goals for today are just to provide you with an overview of the program and answer any questions you may have about it, but we're also interested kind of in a two-way street. We would love to gather your feedback that will help us shape the program and ensure that it really meets your needs and make sure that we're meeting you where you're at here. So again, we are recording this. So if you're viewing this virtually, we do want to hear from you as well. I will provide my contact information at the end of this presentation. Please reach out if you have any questions or comments. We'd love to hear from you. So again, I do want to just greet everyone, especially those with marinas here today. This is really our first opportunity to talk with you all on a larger scale about this project, but we're really hoping that this is just the first step in building a collaborative partnership with you and with others in your industry in the region. Collaborative work is at the heart of all of our programming, and through working together, we think that we can make a meaningful impact on the environment, but then also your communities and your business as well. Abby, go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So I'll discuss a little bit more about who we are for some of you who may not be intimately familiar with our work. The Council of the Great Lakes Region, or CGLR, started in 2014 to bring the Great Lakes region's diverse interests and perspectives together as one. You can see on the map here, the region includes the 8 states from New York to Minnesota and 2 Canadian provinces of Ontario and Quebec, everywhere that touches a lake. And we're focused on creating and making the Great Lakes region the first sustainable region in North America and also the world. And we implement programs like this boat wrap recycling program to do so. We identify success, particularly by balancing the needs of the people in the region, as well as the economy and the environment. So making sure that all the needs are met there. Go ahead, Abby, to the next slide. Focusing on the success of the Great Lakes is critical for a number of reasons. First, the population of the region on the whole, it's about 107 million people. If the region were its own country, this would be the 12th largest country in the world by population. Additionally, the GDP of the region is about 6 trillion US dollars, which would be the 3rd largest economy in the world if this were a country. So pretty large impact as far as economy and population goes. The lakes themselves are also a very important resource. They're the largest freshwater system in the world, holding 21% of the world's and 84% of North America's surface freshwater. They contain over 11,000 miles of coastline. They're home to over 3,500 species of plants and animals, and then maybe more importantly for this audience, 200 species of fish. I'm sure we have some fishermen on today. They also provide 40 million American and Canadian households with clean drinking water. Go ahead to the next slide, Abby. But the challenge of recycling materials, it impacts our region, but it also impacts the nation as a whole. It is estimated that only 80% of the consumer materials that we use get landfilled when they could be recycled. Recycling adds both value into the economy and decreases the need to extract new raw materials from the earth, which creates its own environmental issues, but it also keeps materials out of the landfill that could be reused. The US EPA has a goal to meet a 50% recycling rate of all material by 2030. So by our estimates, through a gap analysis we've published, to do the same in the Great Lakes region, we need an additional 3 million tons of plastic to be recycled annually from our region alone. Go ahead to the next slide, Abby. Shrink wrap is a great example of an untapped source of that unrecycled plastic, which is why we focused on shrink wrap for one of our programs here. Collecting and recycling this material can help contribute to that 50% recycling goal. There are 4 million registered boats in the US alone along the Great Lakes states, and winterizing them due to the climate is essential. But every winter, tens of thousands of tons of plastic is used to protect your watercraft. But unfortunately, despite being able to actually recycle it physically, it's estimated that only 10% of the material gets recycled, and the rest ends up in the landfill. Honestly, due to the lack of convenient recycling options for you, the marinas. So it is in our best interest to keep plastic out of the landfills. It never fully decomposes, excuse me, and can increase the risk of toxins and microplastics leaking into the environment. Next slide, please, Abby. So this is kind of where we came in, seeing the impacts that that plastic can have on the environment, and also the economic opportunity of the material that wasn't being recycled. The Council of the Great Lakes region, along with our partners, got together to start workshopping models to provide the Great Lakes marinas with a solution that was as quick, easy, and cost-effective as we possibly could make it. Our project purpose is simple. We really just want to make sure that as much boat shrink wrap gets recycled every year as possible by working with marinas and boat owners. And the process is also simple. So this year, we have available for purchase these bags up at the top. You can see here. They're manufactured by Dr. Shrink, who is also a manufacturer of the boat wrap that maybe some of you use. The cost of this bag will go towards covering not only the cost of the bag, but also the cost of the hauling, baling, and processing the wrap, basically the whole process that it has to go to be recycled. The process on your end for preparing the wrap is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is unwrap the boat as you would normally. You'll just have a little extra time to remove the straps, zippers, and vents, and making sure that there's nothing but plastic boat wrap going into the bags. After that's done, you can stuff that into the bag, and we will arrange convenient locations for pickup for you. Once collected, that material is baled and then shipped to a processor to to turn the wrap into pellets. That material then heads to our partners at Charter Next Generation, who are working on some testing to identify how to repurpose the material into brand new materials. So with that, I will let Scott talk about that today. Scott from CNG, I'll pass it over to you.
Very good. Thank you, Allie. Good afternoon to everyone. Very excited to be able to share what our role is with this important initiative for the Great Lakes region. As Allie indicated, I'm Scott Hammer, Director of Corporate Sustainability for Charter Next Generation. I've been in the industry coming up on 40 years, and I've been running a PCR resin since 1988. So you can do the math and figure out I've been around a while. So if you could go to the next slide, Abby. A little bit about Charter Next Generation. We are North America's leading independent manufacturer of highly engineered sustainable plastic films. We currently produce over 1 billion pounds of high performance films, primarily focused on the food, consumer, industrial, and healthcare markets. We have 15 manufacturing facilities across the United States, and we are primarily utilizing blown film with a couple of cast film facilities in the mix as well. And we have over 2,300 employees. Next slide, Abby. Thanks. As you can see from our footprint and plant locations, CNG surrounds the Great Lakes. So this is a very personal initiative for CNG because a lot of our employees have utilized the Great Lakes for a variety of things. They've grew up on the Great Lakes, they vacation there, and like me, learned to swim in one of these Great Lakes. For me, it was Lake Superior. CNG is extremely excited to be a part of this opportunity to collect the boat wrap film, have it pelletized, and then find another home or application to put it back into. CNG has a ton of experience processing different types of PCR resins for many different applications, both food and non-food packaging applications. And we do so at different PCR contents, anywhere from 5% up to 90%. What CNG is looking to do with this next phase of this process is to continue to test post-consumer recycled pellets that'll be coming from a couple of different partners. And we'll do this by producing trial film. And what we will do is we'll evaluate the processability of these pellets. We'll take a look at the physical properties of the film that we produce, which then allows our incredibly talented technical team to identify the potential different film applications where we can utilize it and at what potential percentages. So if we go to the next slide, Abby, this gives you an idea. The boat wrap film, we would consider to fall more into a linear low-based post-consumer recycled material. These are some of the applications where we are currently utilizing different levels of PCR content in the application, whether it be trash bags. As you can see, the collation shrink for wrapping beverage containers such as drinking water. You've got the poly mailers, which I'm assuming a lot of us get at home today, especially coming up now for Christmas time from like Amazon and other sources. We have stretch hooder films, and then you can see the towel tissue overwrap. So really what we're looking at is, could the boat wrap film that we're collecting here be utilized ideally back into boat wrap, which we do produce a small quantity of that material, but also potentially some of the darker bags such as trash or poly mailers. So it is a great opportunity to really put our knowledge and expertise in running PCR resin to help create a circular solution for a region that is really important to all of us, not only within CNG, but everybody on this call. So if you'd like to learn more about what we might be able to do, feel free to reach out to Allie or myself, but we'll be available to answer any questions you may have on what we do for the process at the end of this presentation. So Allie, Abby, back to you both.
Thanks, Scott. Really appreciate that. Scott's a great partner to have to talk about all the technical things that I really could not even begin to comprehend. So appreciate you being here, Scott. Now that we've discussed the project, I'm sure you're all wondering about costs. That is absolutely valid and probably the first thing that comes to mind. So first, we have the costs up here. I'm sure you're looking at them, but I want to start out by making it clear that we are a nonprofit organization, and our focus is really just creating a sustainable Great Lakes region. So we're trying to offer this program at as little of a cost as possible, and we do not profit off of it at all. So these are really, these prices are really just what it falls down to cover the cost of the program itself. That being said, we are offering early bird discounts. And if you take advantage of those, the prices for bags, depending on your order size, can be as low as $16. But we do estimate that on average, the cost will probably shake out to less than $20 per boat for the recycling program. Again, we do have the early bird pricing offered now. If you are on this call, you are guaranteed that price. And if you are listening virtually, we have moved the deadline for that price to the end of January. So be sure to put your orders in before then, and I will explain how to do that a little bit later. So we do also understand that frequently the additional cost of doing any business is a burden on you. So some of our marina partners do choose to incorporate these fees and these additional costs of the program into their annual fees for their customers. Some partners even choose to charge a little extra on top of that to cover any additional costs, such as labor that you might come into. We are happy to discuss and consult on other options with you and help you out as much as we can. We want to make this as accessible to you as possible. Ultimately, though, you know your customers and you'll know what's best for them and how you want to implement that should you join us in this project. That being said, Abby, you can go to the next slide, and I'm going to hand it over to Ben from Chicago Harbors, and he's going to discuss his experience with the project a little bit. Go ahead, Ben.
Thanks, Allie. Hello, everybody. My name is Ben Alden. I'm the operations manager for Chicago Harbors. And along with my colleague, Daisy Villarreal, we oversee 10 harbors along Lake Michigan in the city of Chicago. Of those 10 harbors, 2 of them offer winter haul out and dry stack storage. And between those 2 winter storage locations, we shrink wrap about 130 boats per season. And we've been doing this for 10 or 12 years. And we really got started down the recycling path of the shrink wrap because I would just see these truckloads of shrink wrap getting taken out of our storage yard week after week in the spring. And thought, gosh, there has to be something else to do with this stuff. So I started by, speaking with our existing waste hauler at the time, and he pretty much said, yeah, just put it all together and we'll sort it out at the plant. And you kind of say, okay, and you go with that for a year or so, and got to the point that I reached out to another organization, and they said, we're going to drop off a truck and just throw everything in the back of the semi. Throw the shrink wrap, the wood supports, the webbing, everything. Just throw it in there. We'll sort it all out for you, and we'll get back to you with what we can do with it. Well, needless to say, I never heard from them again. I don't know if, knowing what I know now, there were so many contaminants that were just loaded into those dumpsters and into the back of that semi that separating at the plant was just impossible. So got partnered up with CGLR and our other great partners 2 years ago. Was part of the pilot program that we launched to get some shrink wrap recycled at our location, and learned about the ways to remove the contaminants that Allie mentioned, the webbing, the vents, the zippers, and get those properly, put into containers, bags, so that they can be properly processed. So we've come a long way in learning how to remove that shrink wrap. It's really best to do on the boat to get all the contaminants off right away. And the cost of the program is really not an increase from our waste hauling cost. The only slight increase you may see is some additional time and labor, as Ellie mentioned, to remove some of those contaminants. Kind of an unknown benefit of this project, as we got through it, one of our marinas was due for a clean marina recertification, and we hadn't been able to get it all the way, across the finish line, just because of the other, things that a boatyard brings as far as clean marina certifications go. There's a lot of barriers there, but having this program incorporated at this marina actually got us across the finish line, and we were able to get that marina certified clean marina status for the state of Illinois. So it's really been a good program. Our goals going into this spring are definitely to raise our customer awareness about how to properly remove the shrink wrap and its contaminants, so that they can join us, in this push to get things cleaned up, because it's a good thing, and we're happy to be part of the program. So I'll be around at the end of presentation as well to answer any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Great. So I will continue on the conversation of program benefits. Abby, if you want to go to the next slide. In addition to everything that Ben touched on, we do see several benefits for recycling your boat wrap. The first we've touched on is the environmental benefits. It reduces landfill waste, which eliminates the potential for the material to cause any harm to the region. But we also see benefits for your business with increased customer satisfaction and loyalty being at the helm there. Consumers are increasingly concerned about the impact businesses they frequent have on the environment. And it's definitely been a trend that they're making decisions on where to do business based on the alignment with their values and commitment to environmental stewardship. So that's something that's always on our mind is helping you, the marina, promote your participation in the project to your customers to maintain that loyalty. We do support you with the provision of posters, stickers, press releases, other resources to really get that word out there. Additionally, as Ben touched on, it can push you to be eligible for a Clean Marina certification. We are partners with several Clean Marina representatives from across the region that work on this project. So that's a great plug-in as well. Participating in this project will also prepare you for potential changing legislation on recycling. So I'm not sure if you've heard, but Minnesota has passed legislation that requires boat wrap recycling, and other states in the region have also shown interest in similar laws. We do foresee that there will be more policies in the future. So being a part of this program will help you get on board earlier for that. Just in case it impacts you when those are passed. So then lastly, we do see that you will be producing significantly less landfillable waste. Depending on how your landfill fees work, you could save money, or in the case of Montrose Harbor with Ben and Chicago harbors, it breaks even. So Abby, go ahead and move on to the next slide. So now that we've covered kind of all the aspects of the project, I will just talk about the process of joining us. At the beginning of this presentation, we shared a link that will take you to an interest form. It's very simple. It's non-binding. It just provides us information on your location, how many boats you have, and how many bags you would like to order. Part of the reason we chose the bag model is because it would allow you to order as many or as little bags as you'd like. So while we would love for you to recycle the wrap of all your boats, if you can only afford a certain amount of bags in your budget this year, we're happy to accommodate that as well. So once we get that filled out, we'll confirm your eligibility, and we will invoice you for the amount of bags you've ordered. Everyone on this call is guaranteed early bird pricing with your participation. But if you're listening in on the recording, you have until the end of January to get that early bird pricing. And remember, again, how you want to incorporate those fees into your operations is entirely up to you. We'll place the order and you should receive your bags sometime in March. If you order 25 or more bags, Dr. Shrink will ship them directly to you. Otherwise, we'll identify a convenient location for you to collect them. We'll work with you to make it as convenient as possible. But I think that will be a case-by-case basis. Then once the spring comes, you just remove your wrap and any zippers, vents, or straps and stuff it in the bag. We'll work to provide more detailed instructions in the spring related to pickup and drop off. But the locations could potentially be your marina, or for smaller orders, a convenient drop off location will be arranged. Abby, go ahead to the next step. So again, we hope you'll consider recycling your wrap this season by joining us in the boat wrap recycling project. Thanks again for listening, and we're happy to answer any questions or field any feedback you may have at this time.